Hello and welcome to I See You, a safe space for parents, a podcast where each guest gets to share their story and will be seen and heard, not just as a parent, but as the human being they are. I am Katharina Helmicke, your host. My guest today is the lovely Kare Cousino. Kare, I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome on this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I know a few things about you, but I don't know a lot, and I like that. So I know that you are a mom of two teenage boys, and I know that you live on the West Coast in the US. That's about it so far. Please tell us a little bit more about your current situation.
Yeah, I'm loving living on the West Coast. I've lived a lot of places, and this feels like home to me. And the past 4 years have been a complete rebuild of my life. I went through a tricky divorce, and it was abrupt, and my health wasn't great at the time that the decision was made. So, there was a lot to move through, and I ended up moving, pardon me, cities, and I changed the boys' schools and, of course, got us a different place. And I started racing sailboats. I'd already gotten my boys into racing, but I started racing. And the boys and I were racing together a bit. I was doing anything I could to give the boys more community, especially in a new place, and build up our new lives because we had let go of so much. I'd let go of so many things, so many physical things, and our place was smaller, and it really was a fresh start. So we were sailing together, and I got them into actually through sailing on one of the boats I raced on. I didn't realize this at the time, but one of the guys I was racing with was at a Waldorf charter school as a teacher. And someone we had in common in sailing saw one of my sons knitting on the dock. So she told him that we were Waldorf, and then he approached me and said, "Why aren't you guys at the Waldorf charter down here?" And then he back ended the whole thing, and we were able to move into that Waldorf charter. So we had this sailing community, and then we had the Waldorf charter community. So essentially, in the Waldorf charter community, which was a completely new school, but they'd been going to Waldorf charter, I infused myself into that community and accepted every party invitation for the boys and showed up and brought a little gift, a little like delicious gift for the child that invited them, but also for the parents, and stayed and helped out and really nurtured community in that way too. And then I volunteered at the school, and I taught belly dance, and I I took the kids on sailing field trips, and I really really did my best to nurture our community there as well. And in our new apartment village, there's a community aspect. So I'm at the point now where we have grown and blossomed in these new communities, and life is so much smoother. And I'm continuing to rebuild my business, and that's spinning up, and a lot of cool things are happening. So I'm just very grateful for where I'm at right now, because for a while I was quite unsure.
Yeah. So when you separated, the boys went with you, correct?
Initially, they were with me. He would have them once in a while, but then as things progressed, he started wanting to take them more. So we needed to work that out. And that was really hard for me because I had been with them all the time, and he had traveled for work, and I'd helped build up his career, the unpaid labor of supporting someone as they build their dream career. And I was taking care of the kids, and I loved that unpaid labor of love, right? I would have, that was amazing. I would have done anything to be with them all the time, forever. And it was heartbreaking. I mean, I still get choked up when I talk about sharing them. But the
Mhm.
laws in California, and they're unfortunate, and I really would like to get them changed. And that's something that I'm working towards, even in my business and the way that I'm kind of back ending things. But if a dad wants to have his kids even 50% of the time, he can, as long as he's not an intravenous drug user. Like that's their benchmark. So I had 17 attorney consultations and tried my best to figure out like workarounds, and it was just obvious that there wasn't going to be any. So when he wanted to take them, my heart was broken, and I felt like, I mean, it was like a shark that like has to keep moving or it dies. I had to keep myself so busy. So I would hike like for hours and hours and hours. And at that point, I wasn't even really eating that much, but I would just like do anything to keep moving because it just hurt so bad not to have them with me. Um, so yeah, it's definitely tricky sharing them. To this day, it's tricky sharing them.
Mhm. Yeah, I can believe that. And besides you keeping yourself busy, did you have any support going through this time?
Mm, we lived in the northern part of LA County at the time, and we had some community up there, but they weren't my people. And I have people all over the world. I lived a lot of places. I lived in Hong Kong, New York City, I don't know, lots of places. And so I have good friends. But there's something about the, little vortex that was that area where they just never felt like my people. And when we moved down to the marina, and we'd had a boat at the marina, so I was familiar with the marina to some degree. But when we moved down here and really started a life here, and I was surrounded by sailors and the new Waldorf charter school, which was a set of parents that was so special and aligned with me, and some of the very intuitive ways that I do things, it started to feel really, really good. So, to answer your question, no, I didn't have support at first. My mom did come and help me because when when the boys got into school, I had 2 weeks to downsize a 2,700 square foot house and find an apartment and do all the paperwork for their new school while driving back and forth an hour each way to bring them to the new school. So it was just chaos. And yeah, so my mom was there for that, but and there were lots of phone calls with friends and whatnot, but yeah, I wouldn't say I had a much of a support system at that point.
Hmm. Did you ever think about asking for support or help somewhere, or did that didn't even cross your mind?
Mm, I mean, I think that I guess it would depend how you define support. I mean, I was getting support in terms of conversations with certain friends, but what I was going through was so different than what most people I know have been through. Like my friends who are still married and happily married did not get it at all. And then, my single girlfriends didn't really get it. There was just a few people who had been through something similar where there was such a like definitive change in the person that they were with that it was like um that it felt like a psychological split. I'm not saying that was it, but it just was like just made my head spin, right? It all just changed so
Mm.
fast. We had been married for 13 years and we'd been together for longer than that. So it was like, it was a big, abrupt change. And um, yeah, it was sort of like I needed to figure it out myself to some degree. And there was I went through a research phase where I was like researching to understand all the things. And now I have my head wrapped around what happened. And the more, I mean, therapy wasn't even, I had a couple sessions with a therapist, but that wasn't doing it for me. Like I needed to like dive deep and understand the psychology of what happened from his perspective, my perspective, all the perspectives, and put it together and make sense of it. And then I started having deeper conversations with friends who understood exactly that. And that's what moved the needle the most for me. Because the level of conversations prior to that, wasn't getting anywhere. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And um, I mean, it's different for every single person, and everyone has different needs. And you are, as far as I know, a very intuitive person, and you have feelings for people around you and for yourself. And yeah, you went the way that was the way for you, basically. And I'm wondering, I'm gonna call it your powers. Did your powers were they still there during that time, or did you feel them leave a little bit? Were you a lot up in your head, or were you still very much in touch with your intuition?
I would say my intuition waned a lot in the marriage itself. And I mean, I didn't regret the marriage ending. I didn't want to share the kids. That was the issue, right? Um, so intuition wise, I mean, let's put it this way. So even though I felt like my heart was being ripped out, that I didn't have all the kids the entire time anymore, I needed to share them, and things were really challenging. There was so much unknown. I was trying to push the divorce through. He wasn't really trying to get it done. It ended up taking 4 years. Like it was just a lot. It was a lot. Um, but the more I had time on my own and I was separated from that relationship, I came back to my intuition in such a beautiful way. And then it just exploded. It exploded to the point where my career started blowing up. Um, but through that, like finding of myself, there was also this phase of saying no to everyone who wasn't aligned. Like I broke up with half of my family. I had a boyfriend for a little bit and I broke up with him as well. I just needed to say no to everyone who wasn't exactly aligned. And then after that, my intuition just skyrocketed. And then clients started coming from my business. And it was just, I needed that break. I needed the clean sweep and then to reassess alignment, what that looked like for me in particular. And knowing my human design, I'm a very rare type of projector. I'm a line 4/6 projector. So my gift has always been to see. And I could always see people ever since I was really young. And my mom would always say, "How did you know that was going to happen? How did you know that about that person?" And I wasn't raised in a emotionally intelligent family of no fault of their own, right? Like they did better. Every generation does better than the last, and there's no blame whatsoever. But they didn't know what to do with me. I was a very old soul who came in as a seer, and I felt very lonely in that because the way I connected was so different than the way other people connected. It wasn't on a surface level. I was super creative and creativity, right? Like creativity is spirituality. Creativity is that special sauce. Like I went to school for advertising design and I've written concepts at ad agencies, but concepting is actually channeling. So I was doing this since I was young, when I was winning ad design contests when I was little, when I was winning writing contests, and I wasn't even trying to. I would just, people would enter my
Mhm.
work and people would buy my artwork. I was just naturally there, but I would go into creativity because no one understood me. So I was surrounded by people, and probably they thought I had a, great life being raised on a farm in Vermont. And it was to some degree, but I was lonely. Even as a kid, I was lonely. So I would say the intuition, as I moved into this depth with myself and accepting who I am as a projector, and other people around me seeing how I was finally caring for myself instead of just giving all of my caring away to no end, then I started being recognized for what I do and for my intuition, for my gift.
Mm.
And as the name of your podcast, right? You understand what it's
Mhm.
like to see people.
Yes, yes, yes. And I'm wondering how did your ability to see people and your human design influence your motherhood, your um your way of being with your children? Did you know about human design when you first had your children, or did you learn about that later?
Yeah, I did not know then. Um, but I would say the boys are really different, right? So when I had my first son, it was like just this pure love. And he was it was this closeness. It was amazing. He also is like such a free spirit, and I called him a free range baby because wherever we would go, he would just toddle off and explore. He was really wanting to like take in the world. And I think he's a young soul, right? Like he's experiencing some things for the first time. He's bumping into a lot of things, right? And he's so special. And I want to say too, like I thought it was total crap that my parents always said, "We love you all the same." Because I was like, how is that possible? But I love my boys the same amount, but I love them slightly differently because they're such different beings. But I'm going to describe them, I'm going to continue describing them very differently. And just to preface it by saying that I really do truly love them both the same, but they're very different dudes. So when my second was born, it was a very quick delivery. And they put him in my arms, and it was this like wash over me. It was the first time in my life that I ever felt truly seen. And I knew he was an older soul than I was. I knew it. And he was so zen as a baby. And he always wanted to be with me. He always was like perched up on my arm, his little, face in my hair and my neck. And he wanted that closeness. Like he was enjoying being a baby. And he pretty much always knew what was up. Like you could just see it in his eyes. He knew what was going on. And he's taught me so much about life through his eyes. So I've always looked at them in a very separate and unique way for their spirit, their energy, their creativity, what they specifically bring to the table. And yeah, I think the intuition was very strong with motherhood. It's
Mm.
always been very strong with motherhood. So maybe I misspoke before when I said I felt like I didn't have it as much in the marriage, or maybe it just wasn't. I'm processing this now. I guess what I would say is in the in the marriage, just like in my family life growing up, my intuition was squashed, right? Like you marry your unfinished business. So I was just extending the lesson I hadn't learned the first time, right? With my husband. And I'm not saying anything negative about him, but it wasn't the right fit. And And when I look back and think about motherhood, the intuition to see them, to love them, to nurture them, to get them into Waldorf school, which I knew nothing about schooling. When we moved to LA, I had a nursing baby and, um, you know, a 3-year-old that was holding my hand, walking everywhere. And people were saying, where is he going to go to school? And I thought, oh my God, he has a choice. Like where I come from a small town in Vermont. The choice was like you go to school or you drop out. There was no choice. But when I realized there was a choice, then I went around and met with again with like a baby in my arms and a little one on my hand, like went around and met with all the different principals to understand like what the pedagogy was, to understand how the school was really going to be run, and also to follow the money, like who teaches to the test and who actually is nurturing social and emotional development and coping mechanisms, and these big pieces of education that are so important. And that's how I found Waldorf Charter. I was at actually a more academic school, academically driven, test driven school, asking some questions. And the ladies in the front office said, you really need to go to the Waldorf Charter. They could just tell. So I went to their winter fair, and there was like pine needle sledding on the hill, and there was this like needle felted ice fishing and all of these sweet things that preserve the sanctity of being a child. And I found out the kids get dirty at school because they play outside and they grow an organic garden and they learn math by knitting, and then there were no screens. And I knew that this was going to be time versus treasure, because the nearest Waldorf that was not charter, it was something like 28 grand per year per kid. So, we needed to be in the charter, not the private. And that was going to mean an investment on my part where I needed to work at the school and show up and help out and do the things. But I was willing to do that to give them this experience.
Hmm. And you said before that your own family, your own upbringing, there was not a lot of emotional intelligence. So when you then became a mom, of course you had your intuition, and did you only follow your intuition on that, or did you learn from anything or anyone about childhood development and all of that?
Mm, I mean, I definitely talked to a lot of other moms. I read some books. I pretty much watched them though and dialed into what they needed, and saw that they did really well on a schedule, but also, they needed to be outside as much as possible. And, I took a lot of interest in child-led cues just intuitively, and that felt really good. They
Mm.
pretty much will let you know what they need. And there was just endless hugs and kisses and endless twilight talks. When they open up to you before bed, the twilight talks are the best. Um, and all the super healthy food. I went through a lot with my health in the past, so I knew a lot about nutritionally dense food, and there was a lot of care in that regard as well. A lot of grass fed and organic, and a lot of solid choices. So yeah, it was definitely for me, it was more felt into than it
Mm.
was studied. outside of, the parenting relationship.
Mm. You said that your children show you what they need, but that means that you have to be aware of that they need something, and that it's important to figure out what they need, what a lot of the previous generations um, didn't even care about that much, or at least they thought that they knew everything what a child needs, and that's about it, and they didn't explore that further. And I'm always super impressed by moms and dads who grew up with emotionally unintelligent parents and then do it completely different once they have their own kids. That's always fascinating to me.
Yeah, it just had to be different for them. I mean, I wasn't someone who dreamt of having kids, but when the time came, it was so natural. And I didn't want them to be lonely like I was. They, there was no way they were not going to feel loved.
Mhm. Yeah, it's making you a little emotional right now, right? Mm.
Yes.
Seems like you did a great job with your boys.
Thank you. I actually took them sailing last night on a boat that I race on, and they're familiar with some of the people on that sailboat. And it was so cool to see them just out in the ocean doing their thing. And everyone was texting me after saying those boys are amazing. And it was just cool. It's cool to see how they move out in the world. And as a
Mm.
parent, sometimes you get the other side of it, right?
Hmm.
So it's good to see them out in the world using their manners, being kind, learning, taking care of people, checking in with people. This is what I wanted for them. And seeing it just melts my heart. And seeing them excited, and they both have received some accolades at school recently, and just seeing the pride on their faces. And um and I don't really push, honestly, academics that hard. It's, it's their choice. But you know, it's really interesting to see them have the feeling of success. And I mean, I've also let there be some natural consequences where they didn't feel that and there was embarrassment involved. And then they made the choice to try harder after. So
Hmm.
it's a range, right? And it's really cool to see the natural consequences working, and to see that they're loving. Like, that's the most important thing to me, is that they're loving, kind humans. And I love to see them also just being outside as much as possible. Not on screens. I mean, they definitely use their phones. They have snap streaks with their friends, and I mean, they're 14 and almost 17 years old. So there are there's definitely some technology in the mix now, and dad hasn't really encouraged that, particularly since the split. And that was really hard for me at first, but now seeing them being able to manage it, along with sailing and surfing and skateboarding and biking and all the great outdoor activities that they do, and then taking little trips with friends. It's cool.
Hmm. Yeah, and they are teenagers. I mean, that's a time where it's not always easy because they do distance themselves usually a little bit, but it seems like you've found a great rhythm there between the three of you.
Yeah, I think we have. And it's as teenagers too, there's no forcing, right? It's invitations. And they both wanted to go sailing, so I was in heaven.
Yeah.
Very easily could have gone the other direction and I wouldn't have forced it, right? Um, Yeah, and they're starting to learn to grill. And I have a little grill on our balcony, and one of them is specializing in the ultimate cheeseburger right now. And so we're doing like sunsets and cheeseburgers and, these skills. And they were saying, they said to me, one of them said to me, I really want to go to a different grocery store. There's like four grocery stores in rotation that we go to, and he wanted to go to a different one. And I said, go ahead, go buy the stuff that you want as long as it's reasonably healthy. You buy it, I'll Venmo you whatever it costs, and then like let's make food together. But he's gonna go and do some grocery shopping, and this is this is what it feels like right now to um I think be successful, right? Is to give them that autonomy and have them involved in the decisions, because then there's, potential buy-in on eating said food. If I just go buy it, it might not be what they want, right?
Mhm.
So it's been kind of a new level lately.
Yeah. And you said they're 14 and almost 17 right now.
Yeah, so one's 14 and a half, and the other one is he'll be 17 in like a month and a half.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And how much did you share during the time of separation and divorce? Like, how did you approach that? Because they were like very conscious already um, during the last 4 years. How did they go through that? How did you do that?
It was difficult. It was really difficult. Dad definitely sort of went in a different direction than we had gone prior with technology and food, and there were a lot of decisions that were tough for me, and I questioned even the safety of to some degree. Um, but I always look at things like it's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And I think there was a level of autonomy and almost like street smarts that they developed when they were with him. Um, and although it was like heartbreaking for me because I wanted to preserve the sanctity of childhood for as long as I could, and particularly with the younger one, he still wanted all the hugs and all the kisses. And he really, when he was with me, wanted to, fall asleep on me and I mean, sometimes he'd just say, Mom, can I stay home from school? And I knew he wanted me to just like hold him because he missed it. So I said yes. And I just took care of him. And sometimes he'd, I think, even get a little sick just to have that, right? Um, yeah, it was really hard. Did I fully answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, it's this for me. It's when I ask a question, I have something in mind, but then the way you answer as my guest today, that's your story. So I'm
Cool.
never gonna push towards something that I had in mind, even if it's different from the answer, um, because whatever you're saying is what you need to say in that moment. And yeah, I love that you, for example, let him stay home when he wanted to because you didn't think, oh, he wants to avoid school or whatever, but instead you realized that he needs something very essential right now, and that you were providing that. That's amazing.
Yeah, he wanted to connect. It was very clear he wanted that connection because we've always been super close. So I think it was hard on both boys. But even like the physical closeness with the younger one, it just even on sailboats, we would be out on sailboats and we'd do our thing, and then he'd come over and wrap his arms around me on the rail, and everyone would just be shocked that this little boy was just wanting to be. He wasn't that young. I mean, at that point, right? Like he was 10, 11, like he was still doing that. Like he wanted the physical closeness. And I think him and I, we both have extremely mellow dispositions. We both laugh a lot. We're both really happy, but the mellow disposition is it's a co-regulation, right? When you're out in the world and you can go be close to someone who has a similar frequency, then it's just this out breath and it feels so good. So there's recognition in that as well.
Mm, yeah. When I get to know you, it was a call where I just watched you, and during that call you were asked who you are. And the very first thing you said was that you are a mom of two teenage boys. So that part of your identity is very strong, as we see right now as well. And I'm wondering, what other parts do you have, if you want to say have, but what other parts are part of your identity, and how much room do they get?
Hmm. Well, I would say I've really honed in the past few years on what lights me up, my my joy, my fun, and I love what I do for work. So I I spend a significant amount of time working, but I do tie my work into the things that I love, just like I do for my clients. So I am an intuitive personal branding consultant, and I do work with leaders and CEOs. Um, and I advise them through the frequencies of the truth of who they are and through joy frequency, what I call joy frequency and fun frequency. Because as earthlings, we elected to be here on this timeline, and it's such a wild timeline to be on. I mean, sometimes it's disgusting, and sometimes, it's it's like heart-wrenching, and then other times it's beautiful. But we elected to be here to be on a mission to affect real change. And the mission is guided by your joy. So when you're in the frequency of joy, when you're doing the things you love, the things that light you up, you're going in the right direction. So just as I help my clients with this, and we simplify and we hold capacity in their businesses, and we get them moving in this really beautiful way. um, I do the same for myself. So for me, I love music. I love dancing. I love sailing. I love connecting with my friends. And there's more and more events that are brewing right now where there's even more connection, and there's music involved, and there's boats and sailing and the ocean, all the things I love. And recently I just rewrote my tagline, and it's "You are a vessel of joy." So the tie-in is it's all right there. But last weekend I did an overnight race to Catalina Island, full of music, full of boats, full of dancing. It was so special. And now that I've raced for 4 years, I have these relationships on all these different boats. So when we meet on the island and we're connecting and we're sharing incredible food, and then we put our headlamps on and walk to the other side of the island in the dark, and there's a DJ waiting for us, and we dance and we connect, in that way. It's just, that's what lights me up. It's like we're here for such a short time, and the impact you can have by sharing your vulnerability, right? By exactly what you're doing, having this podcast, inviting these dazzling women. I've heard your other podcasts, right? Like I'm inviting them on and having people share from this place of their soul, having that connection and having that excitement and having that joy in life for all the things you do. It just, that's the point. Because as we raise, my mission is to raise the collective consciousness. And I want women and mothers in leadership, and I want kids protected. I mean, through all this craziness with like insanity with what's happened to kids through the elites, right? And all the rest of it. And also with divorce. Divorce laws need to change. Women and mothers in leadership will get these things done. Because women and mothers in leadership want everyone taken care of, want everyone nurtured, want the sick, hurt people who are doing these things to get the care and the love they need so they can heal. And first and foremost, we want to protect kids from any of that while these people are healing. If they can, if they're not completely reptilian, I don't even know anymore. But the first priority is protect the kids, right? And so raising the consciousness, having women and mothers in leadership, it's so, it's imperative. It's imperative to see the changes that we want. And when I think about what the paradigm would look like when that happens, I just I feel so hopeful.
Yeah. And I think the ball is rolling. I think that's the way the world, the earth is moving right now. That's what we're moving towards, and we are some of the lucky ones who get to work on that actively and consciously.
Yeah, it's kind of a quiet movement too. The money is being transferred into the hands of women slowly and quietly. And we're all meeting in
Mhm.
different ways, in different containers, and we're helping each other any way we can. And I'm so happy to help women, and I'm happy to help men. I have male clients. My one criteria is that they support women and mothers in leadership. I will not work with a man who doesn't support that. And there are
I
lots of
love
men
that.
that support it. There are so many men now that say that's the only way it's going to change.
Hmm.
And it's so special to hear them say that and recognize it. And it's so special to see people feeling loved. Like even in Catalina, people felt loved. It all changes when we feel loved. We only make bad decisions when we don't feel loved. I made horrible decisions as a teenager. I didn't feel loved. The worst thing you
Hmm.
could ever do is not love a teenage girl or a teenage boy, right? They're not going to make good decisions.
Yeah.
So it's the love, it's the joy, it's the fun frequency. I'm working on a lower ticket offer. I've already helped some people with this, but I'm putting together something specific that is a joy frequency offer to help people, women and men, like move into their missions with joy, right? And it's not as, it's not the same thing as the leaders and CEOs that I work with, but it's really special because it's helping people move into their purpose and feel that love and that joy in their lives because we all go through really dark times. It was dark for me when I didn't have the kids after the divorce, even if it was just for a day or 2 days, or sometimes it would be a chunk of days, but it felt terrible. And the way I moved through that was to find joy again in my life.
Amazing. Yeah, that's wonderful. And I personally, I feel so much joy, especially in the last year and a half, like to a point where I most days feel like I'm in love with life. Just like actually as if I'm in love with someone, but there's no someone. It's just life. And and then the ripple effect, what happens to the people around me, doesn't even matter if it's friends, family, or strangers. That's amazing. And the more people who are able to move through life with joy, doesn't mean that there's no hard moments or no tough emotions to go through. That's not the question, but to access the joy and find joy, I feel like that's the key.
Yeah, even if you're having the worst day and you just get a little bit of food that tastes so good,
Mhm.
or you put on a song you love, or you listen to a podcast or do a Reiki meditation, whatever you want to do, but whatever little ounce of joy you can grab at that moment and going for a walk and moving, like anytime you can move the energy too, that's huge. The energetics of movement are fantastic.
Mhm.
But to have
Yeah.
joy like you have in your life and like I am now experiencing in my life where there's so many invitations. I mean, I have multiple boats I can decide to race on tonight. And at one point, like I didn't have any boats, right? And now it's what feels like the most fun. And three girlfriends texted me earlier saying, "Are you going to the event tomorrow night?" And I hadn't decided. And then another one slid in, the one who's hosting the event, and said, "Hey, I have a ticket for you. It's all covered. Just show up." So it's all just happening in the podcasts and the articles, and people are coming to me now. And it really is about showing up in joy. And when you show up in joy, people just see it and they want you to be part of whatever they're doing. And this is how we elevate. This is how we rise up together. And you know, this is actually the soft rebellion for the data centers and the human trafficking and all the crazy things that are happening right now. Like us coming together. I mean, I don't think some of the elites saw this coming, right? The counterculture that's moving against AI. I mean, I'm seeing so many younger people with actual iPods that they got on eBay because they don't want to have their phone with them anymore, but they want their music with them. And there was a 16-year-old's birthday party the other day where she was gifted a Polaroid camera. I mean,
Yes.
the counterculture is so exciting. It's all about let's connect, let's be in person, let me feel your energy, let's do this, and then when the people get together, that's the town meeting, right?
Mhm.
A lot gets done in the town meeting.
Yes. That's amazing. Yeah. When when I hear you talk, and I I can sense something that I'm thinking about lately, which is that we need two things to move intentionally and healthily through life, and that is to zoom in and be in the moment, very present, very intentional, and then also zoom out and see the bigger picture, which can be lifetime or even more than a lifetime. But we need both. Um, how would you say that you tend to do one more, or is it just in flow to zoom in and zoom out in your life?
Hmm. Well, I think, when I was still in that dark place and researching everything that had happened, I needed to sleep a lot. And that was kind of more inward. And in being inward, it was more of a parochial perspective. It was like, what is happening with me and my microcosm right now? And this bubble that is the little family that I have. Like, I needed to just kind of focus in sort of a smaller way. But as I've been in more and more and more joy, as that joy has built and built and built, and I will say too, like I was on a boat last night, and one of the guys I was racing with, this is a very relevant story, asked me, "What do you do?" And I told him, and he said, "Oh, I work with entrepreneurs and leaders, and Mark Cuban is giving us a private fireside chat. Can I invite you to go with me?" So what I'm saying is like, do what you love and the good things will just come to you. Like he invited me to that. I wasn't trying for that, but probably, I'm going to meet more people there. Whatever it is going to be, right? But it's the it's the joy frequency. And I'm making that up, right? Like that's not, I haven't gotten that from anywhere else, but I call it joy frequency. It's being in joy frequency, that vibration of like, I'm having fun. I am the vessel for joy. The joy is my guide. It's my barometer. It's my compass. Directionally, it's the weather vane. Like we're going in this direction because this feels good. I've never seen it not work. As long as you are taking care of your vessel, you are making good decisions. If you are following your joy in a safe, loving way, good things happen. And then that more inward phase just sort of falls away and you become more outward and receptive. And I would describe myself as an ambivert, right? Like I'm as introverted as I am extroverted. So there are times when I want to be by myself, but because there is so much joy in my life right now, I want to be out more and more and more because I have the capacity. I'm holding more capacity for joy. The vessel is shifting and changing and morphing, and it's just growing.
Yeah. Taking care of your vessel is that's step one. Without doing that, everything else won't work. Like you have to take care of yourself first before you can approach anything else successfully. And I don't even mean business when I say successfully, but life.
100%. I mean, being on a sailboat is a metaphor for that, right? Like if something breaks, you're not moving.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got it. You have to take time and that introspective time and figure it out. That's what I do with clients. Because for me too, as a projector, right, I can see everyone else, but I can't see myself.
Mm.
So I had that conversation with Melanie that you heard, and she was helping me get there. A lot of us can't see ourselves though. So that's why this work is important, to be able to have someone help you when you're not seeing clearly yourself, because there are people that can see your next steps. and can help you realize what brings you into joy and the complete truth of who you are and who you always were, ever since you were little. I mean, I was always exactly this, just in a tinier body, and it was very misunderstood.
Yeah. Yeah, what you were just saying, I think, is so essential that even when you are, let's say, coaching on a very high level and you're helping or empowering so many people, you also need this kind of guidance from someone else. And I just love to watch what happens in that, um, in this community right now where we met, but then also in a bigger sense that especially women start just building a network of guidance for each other, and like each using their very unique skills, and then just amplifying everything by it. I love that there's no competition, no jealousy, nothing like that. It's just like, let's be great together and support each other.
It's so good. It's so good. And people have come out of the woodwork. I mean, you just appeared in my DMs, right? And I adore you. I'm so happy that we get to do life together in whatever capacity that is. I'm sure you'll come to LA. We'll do something amazing. Like this is what it is. And I'm
Yes.
so happy to support you on your mission. Like nothing would make me happier than to support you on your mission. Like it's just this is fun. I'm having
Yeah.
so much fun. And it's just I feel so lucky. I feel so grateful.
Hmm. Me too. Me too. All right, my dear. I feel like we could keep talking for a long time. Um, but for this purpose, I would say we're ready to go to the rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
I am, but may I say one thing first?
Please.
Okay. I did refer to my parents as not emotionally intelligent. And I want to clarify if they ever hear this or anyone who knows them ever hears this, they are incredibly intelligent people. They just weren't raised with the level of expression for their feelings that now we're seeing more and more in the world. And the last thing I would ever want to do is disrespect them as my parents and as humans because they are full of love. And I want them to know that I do love them and respect them and adore them. That's very important to me that that lands with them.
Mm. Yeah. I think it's beautiful to say that out loud, because it's easy to think that we are blaming our parents. Um, but just like you said, I'm totally convinced that they all do the best they can with the knowledge and the skills that they have at the time. Um, and we do evolve over generations, so it's not a blame game. It's about becoming aware of what was going on and then moving intentionally to where we want to go.
Yeah, I think my closing thought on that would be it was societal. There's been a lot of societal shifts since then. Also, they were so busy. I don't think they had the capacity and they weren't raised that way either. They both came from farm families. They were raised to work. they weren't raised to feel. And they probably had no idea what to do with me. And that is not their fault.
No. And they probably raised the bar already from how
Did
they were raised.
100%, 100%. And I'm so grateful for that, right? And I'm just taking the baton and going to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. I think that's beautiful to say that, because even though a lot of people in our generation are very much aware of it, when others hear it, they might feel like our generation would be ungrateful, but it's not that. It's just acknowledging and being grateful, actually, like quite the opposite. Being grateful for what they did.
100%.
All right. Is there anything else you would like to say before we move into the rapid fire questions?
I'm ready for these rapid fire questions.
Okay. So the first one is, who or what inspires you currently?
Mm, my boys, my boys, and them taking in this crazy world and crazy life and seeing them make the connections they do and seeing their hearts and seeing their joy.
Mm, beautiful. Okay. Second question. What is your favorite thing to do when your kids are not around?
Mm, my favorite thing to do when they're not with me is be out, because oftentimes when they're with me, they love they love this place. I live in this treetop loft, which is a couple blocks from the ocean, and we have a view of the sunset in the main channel. And this is a really special place, but I think they're so comfortable here that they don't want to leave when they're here a lot. They come home and they just want to be home, which is great to some degree. But because I am this explosion of joy right now and I want to be out more, um, when they're not with me, I just want to be out as much as possible. I want to be on the beach, hiking, sailing. I want to go dancing, hang out with my girlfriends, kayaking, paddleboarding, whatever. I just want to go and see and do and yeah, feel feel the energy in the world. I think the beautiful energy in the world. Like I want to be a part of the tapestry, you know. Yeah.
You're
So
so active.
we got done sailing last night and they said, "Let's go to the gym." It was 9:45 p.m. and I was like, "Yeah, why not? Let's go to the gym." There's an outdoor gym here, so we went to the gym. But truth be told, I'm exhausted today. But it was
Well, I'm
worth it.
happy to hear that.
It was worth it.
Nice. Nice. Okay. The last question is, what is one message you would like to leave with all the parents out there?
Mm. If you're going through something hard with your kids, it's temporary. And on the other side of it, you will be rewarded. Like, go into it, figure it out, learn the tools, show up, love them, and the other side's going to be great. And just enjoy it because it's so special. It's such a gift. The bond is so beautiful. Anytime they open up to me and they share and there's emotion or they say, I don't want you to tell anyone else this, I just feel so special. And parenting really is changing the world. Like it is the most important job. Whatever your investment portfolio looks like, this is your most important investment. Just go all in and enjoy it and do little silly, goofy things and have fun. Be in joy together. This is all we have, right? Tomorrow's no guarantee. Enjoy it.
Mm, that's the most amazing way to end this, I would say. Just enjoy, enjoy the ride. Right, my dear. Thank you so much for coming on, for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a
Tru-
blast.
I truly appreciate you and what you're doing,
Mm.
and your mission, and your energy. As my boys would say, your immaculate aura.
Oh,
Yeah. I love that.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right, my dear. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you again. Bye bye.